Anthony Albanese, he just doesn't dare stand on these very ugly anti-Israel mobs on our streets now. And the pressure went on him today to at least call out the disgraceful decision by the International Criminal Court's chief prosecutor, a British Muslim, to seek a warrant to arrest Israel's Prime Minister for war crimes, along with leaders of the Hamas terrorist group, as if they were all morally alike. This was all that Albanese would say yesterday.
US President Joe Biden says seeking the arrest warrants of Israeli leaders is outrageous. Do you agree with him?
Well, I don't comment on court processes.
Pathetic. Now, today, Alexander Downer, the foreign minister, who signed us up to the International Criminal Court in 1988, said, look, Australia should now consider withdrawing from it if it does go ahead with these ridiculous warrants. And opposition leader Peter Dutton today would not rule that out.
In the first instance, it needs to make sure that there is moral clarity in our country, and that is to reverse the decision and to put pressure on the ICC to make sure that they reverse this terrible decision. That's the first instance, and then I think the next steps in relation to what you would take beyond that, I'm very open to. I don't rule it out.
But Albanese today still refused to budge. It's like he's crawling for the votes of Muslims here and the kind of people who on Sunday in Melbourne protested again against Israel. This time by trying to crash a peaceful rally against anti-Semitism that was called by Christians and Jews. Now, I've seen reports suggesting that both sides of this protest were as bad as each other and police clashed with both. But that's hiding once again the truth about the anti-Israel protests that Albanese is effectively encouraging with his silence. Now, Avi Yemini was there. He's a reporter from Rebel News. He's not afraid to go right up to protesters of the hard left and ask them the hard questions, although he is smart enough to do it with a huge bodyguard. And most of what I'll now show you of that anti-Israel protest on Sunday is what he's posted. This is the kind of protest that Anthony Albanese is unleashing or helping to unleash with his refusal to condemn the sort of extremism we're seeing. For instance, many protesters there dressed like Palestinian extremists, faces covered yet again, and they bullied even this woman in a wheelchair, an Israel supporter. She was mobbed by these anti-Israel protesters. One ran off with her Israeli flag, which was later burned. They also tried to push back police horses and abuse the police on them as animals. One even stripped off his shirt to apparently try to physically intimidate Yemini.
Are you a real man? A real man's in front of you. A real man is in front of you. It's debatable. I'm not, you can't touch me. It is debatable. You can't touch me. I can take on 10 of you. You've got no heart. You've got no courage. That's why I'm here by myself. In front of thousands of people. Because I'm a symbol of resistance.
Joining me is Avi Yemini. Avi, great to see you again. Look, you've gone to a lot of these protests. Is what I've just shown here typical of them?
Sadly, firstly, thanks for having me, Andrew. Sadly, I'd say it's usually worse because on a regular week, you know, since October 7, in fact, up until this weekend, there haven't been many police around who are willing or available to deal with the thugs. So usually they would get away with the crimes, the violence, whereas on Sunday you saw police move in quite quickly.
And in fact, they arrested 6 protesters, and what I didn't see reported in the newspapers was all, as I understand it, were from the anti-Israel mob. Not a single protester from the pro-Israel crowd were arrested, and I think that says something about the behaviour. Now, Avi, I've shown before footage of another protest outside Victoria's Parliament, again involving you. You tried to interview a pro-Palestinian extremist who'd already been charged with kidnapping and torture about recent violence at that protest, and here is how he reacted to you.
Right, I'm gonna get you.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna get you.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna
Leave.
do?
Hey, don't touch him. You came my way. You off. You understand?
What are you gonna do? Stay out of my
You came my way.
Stay out of the camera, wait.
You want me to show you?
You better grab him, mate. Get him up. Back off.
Why did you come my Why did you come my way? You're filming this,
This is Victoria, man.
But here is the police reaction to that clear threat to you.
The face of Hamas.
I don't get involved in that.
You probably should, though. He's out on bail for kidnap and torture.
Avi Yemini, what are you noticing about the policing of these protests and the reporting of them?
Andrew, firstly, tell me what other event, in what world can you go up and act like that violently in front of police? And not only they don't intervene, they tell you, they literally tell you that they witnessed a crime and they just let it happen, and they tell you that they can't do anything about it. There's no other place that happens. It's like a protected species. In fact, if you go to on the weekend to any pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, let's call them for what they are, protest, and you wave an Israeli flag, you'll get mobbed and then you'll get whisked away and issued a move-on order for your own safety from police. But yeah, it's insane, and the insanity of it all is that once again it's been done with the media's kind of help. The fact that they can even compare these groups, or they're unwilling to really hold them accountable.
I was struck by the fact that the media reporting I saw did not draw a contrast between the two groups, the pro-Israel and the anti-Israel, because it was so stark and I think said so much. What did that difference tell you?
Well, firstly, the idea that I saw the reporting that 6 were arrested and they didn't actually tell us which group they came from. Now, all you had to do, any journalist that was there and was honest, anyone that was there and honest and looked at the two groups, you could see clearly. You look over at one group, they're chanting genocidal slogans. There's not one Australian flag in the crowd, and they're calling for the destruction of Israel, but then also Australia. The other group, on the other hand, gathered, were chanting songs of love, the Australian anthem, and waving Israeli and plenty of Australian flags because they love, you can see, they love Australia, they love Israel, they love Western democracies. They cherish freedom. And any reporting that doesn't highlight that is absolutely dishonest.
Well, I think that's absolutely correct, because I interpret this as not just an attack on Israel, it's an attack on Western civilization and Australia. This involves us too. And I think the mask is being ripped off. It's becoming more and more obvious. And thanks, Avi Yemini, for your part in making that so obvious by filming it. I really appreciate that.
Thank you, Andrew.